Hello, everyone. I'm Jason Wick. I'm the director of the SRE team for VMC on AWS at VMware. I've been within SRE boundaries and roles for over 20 years, and bringing this experience, and we've been building a team over the last 2 years to tackle some very unique challenges that I think that SRE teams are going to face more and more as they go forward. So I'm going to skip the agenda and just get right onto it. So the SRE team at VMware is an implementation of DevOps. So the team is staffed with experienced software developers that have the additional skill sets around operations, monitoring, automation, post-mortem, incident management. So we have a very high bar for software development, and then we look for these extra skill sets so that we can build the tools and set the processes in order to maintain the business SLAs and SLOs. So I really believe in building the tools that you use to manage the SLA. So the entire team is on call and building the tools and the services and the infrastructure platform that they need in order to monitor, automate action, and bring visibility, reporting, and analytics to maintaining those SLAs. So the team faces a very unique challenge that's growing across the industry. So with infrastructure as a service and the hybrid cloud models that are coming out now with VMC Outposts, several VMware offerings, Azure hybrid cloud solutions. There's a unique set of challenges facing SRE in general as these services go forward. And so I wanted to bring that context before the team started getting into how they're solving and driving towards resolving those challenges. So every SRE team really wants a minimal change. In fact, if you could have no change, that would be the ideal place for an SRE team is leave the service as it is, because when you do that, it doesn't break. Well, it doesn't break as often. And so SRE and DevOps really push for homogeneous environments. Keep everything the same hardware, same drivers, same code as much as possible across the site, same application running, and then you scale horizontally. So you have your network, your software layer, and your storage layer. And so when you just add more nodes, and they're the same type of nodes. So then you're managing a service. You have services that are complex. You have a lot of dependencies, but if you minimize the variance in that environment, when you go to troubleshoot an incident, you've already ruled out a bunch of factors. These two things, this one's working, this one's not. They're both running the same code, so it's not the code. They're both on the same hardware. They both have the same drivers. Well, maybe there's a different traffic pattern. So when you're triaging, which is one of the biggest impacts that you can have to MTTR, the first thing you start to do is rule out what's the difference, what's changed. And so the more variance you have, the higher your MTTR. So over the last 10 plus years, we really focused as an SRE industry in maintaining that, keeping that variance minimal so that we can scale and handling scale problems. Well, in the new, more this hybrid market that's starting to emerge between AWS, VMware, Google, and Microsoft, and I'm sure other companies, you're starting to see a lot of variance because it's infrastructure as a service, and when you talk about structure, whether it be infrastructure in the cloud or infrastructure managed services on-prem, the customers have different features. And so you start with a homogeneous environment, and then that quickly changes per customer. So you're not talking about 10,000 customers using the same software in the same environment. Each customer has a different environment. It's different sizes. They have different patterns of usage. They have different use cases. They're applying different features. Some environments are CPU bound, some environments are memory bound, some environments are storage bound. And this changes throughout the year. And as the customer expands and their business cases change, so do their environments. And so the environment that you're managing for a customer as an SRE team this month is going to be drastically different 6 months from now. So then how, as an SRE team, do you apply all the same practices that we've been developing, the post-mortem practices, monitoring, SLOs, reliability, how you measure availability, into a model where you have thousands of unique environments that start out the same but drastically change. And so this is the problem that my SRE team, our SRE team at VMware is facing today. And so this is one of the biggest impacts we have to MTTR because you have to roll out. This customer has one feature, this customer has a different feature. This customer is CPU bound, this customer is not. And so when you're trying to not scale a support organization like we do in SRE, and you're trying to scale the services, how do you solve that MTTR challenge? How do you triage quickly? And the keys are information and automation. Like we skipped automation almost immediately within this product. The first 6 months, the team started developing an automation platform. And then what we're going towards is the right information at the specific time. So this is moving away from static information, static dashboards, and that is having a system that dynamically creates the dashboard for what you need, for what's happening at that time, that the issue, either multiple customers are facing it or a single customer is facing it. I don't want to see the same data every time I go into a dashboard. I need to see only the data that pertains to that user that tells me as an SRE engineer, what do I need to triage? What do I need to do to get this impact back, remove the impact, remediate the impact? And so I'd like to introduce Shubham, and then Jayan will be following. And they're the SRE that are actually solving this problem on a day-to-day basis, and they want to share their journey so far. And it's an ongoing journey, and we hope to have many more presentations and share this journey as we go forward, because I think it's going to help a lot of different SRE teams as we push forward.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Jason. So before we start, I want to point out the North Star that we had. So our North Star is to build, was to build, and is to build an extensible and dynamic and collaborative platform which adapts to continuously changing and evolving platforms. The bottom line is that we have to reduce MTTR and scale operationally. So this is the North Star that we have been following, and this is like the centers. So here we have our engineer, SRE engineer, and he does not look amused. That's because our incident management strategy had lots of hops in between. The first was the monitoring platform, which would look at stream of events, metrics, and events, and generate alerts on top of that. Then next was. The next one was the incident management platform, which basically took events and alerts from our monitoring platform and paged people and worked on. Basically, it was a ticketing system where you can go and figure out what's happening. The next one was the triage and data gathering step, and the SRE engineer made use of the health platforms and logging platforms to actually figure out what is happening and gather more data and information to figure out how to solve problems. Now, the next step would be looking for a run book and actually going out and solving the incident. But if you don't have a straightforward way of solving the incident, or if it's one that you have never seen before, you have to get the right service owners involved. And in that case, communication is very important. So finding out which service owner to engage and at what time, and because most services are not simple, they are a combination of lots of services talking to each other. Which teams to bring on is also a challenge. So this was the fourth challenge that we had in the incident management journey. Then fifth is actually driving the incident to closure, where you actually go into the system with the service owner and solve the problem. And this is where your engineer and service owners log into the system and solve problems. And the last one is documentation. Documentation, of course, the steps that you have taken have to be documented in your ticketing platform so that they can be taken up later. And this also includes postmortems and root cause analysis, so that you bridge the gap and close the loop in the end. But this approach had problems, And these were, the first one was information silos. Because like you've seen, there are four, in the whole incident management lifecycle, you have around 3 to 4 platforms which you are interacting with. And that causes information silos. And the result of that is high context switch. When you have lots of incidents and your context switch is more, your engineers will not be able to solve the problems faster. And this impacts MTTR. Then you have cross-team collaboration. The right set of people to involve is a challenge. Fourth one is time-consuming postmortem and RCA. Because your information is scattered across different services, just collating them in one place could bring a lot of value. And the effect of these problems is usually, the biggest problem is you spend more time gathering data and triaging and less time on remediation. And that results in engineers missing the MTTR SLA a lot of times, which is not good. And the effects of all these problems are longer MTTR, which definitely leads to customers, and you have more impact to customers. You have high operational toil because the context switch is more. Your engineers are jumping across multiple systems. You have cumbersome impact assessment, and it makes gathering information and data harder. And if you're not closing the loop properly between incident resolution and when you see the next incident, you would have problems where past learnings will not be used effectively. So the next step that we had was automated remediation. So because we want to drive down the MTTR, we put in automatic remediation so that we can take away. There were a lot of issues which did not need involvement from an engineer, and the automated remediation layer actually took care of it. But this did not solve all our problems. Definitely, it contributed and increased our operational efficiency, brought down the MTTR, but we still had the same problems that we had before. And so we went on the journey to build the SRE platform, the automation platform and the monitoring platform. And when you're building a common UI platform, these were the challenges that we had in mind. Like these were the problems that we're going to face. The first one was, what are all the information sources? If you're integrating and bringing lots of services together, you have to know which all you're going to include. And what all data should be displayed is the other one. Which data? So you have to also make sure that your signal to noise ratio is less. And the fourth one is how useful is this platform to users beyond SRE? So based on these challenges and these concepts, we built we had a beta, and which basically brought in information from monitoring, PagerDuty and incident management, health, and automation under a single roof, in different tabs, of course, and so that the users and our engineers and service owners don't have to jump across multiple platforms to know what's happening. But one thing that you have to understand when you're building a platform for your engineers is that you should always iterate quickly and fail fast, because if you iterate quickly, you'll know the problems that you're going to face early on, and you can make amends to them faster. So failing, don't get scared, and do not have a tighter feedback loop with your users. You will never get it right the first time, so be patient, and you'll eventually end up building the right platform. And the next challenge was how to correlate data and make it work at scale, because our approach only brought in information together. Now I would like to call on stage Jayan, who is going to delve more into that.
Thanks, Shubham. So far we have seen Jason explain the unique challenge at VMware we were facing, and also how all the challenges building a right automation platform which solves the problems whatever SRE had at hand. Even though we brought all the information under one platform, I would call it still siloed away because they were all under different tabs. I would not even able to correlate, like when an alert happened, how would I know what the incident that was happened due to that, and what is the health signal which indicated that alert, and what was the automation action that was performed to solve that incident. So what we built is, we came up with an improvised UI which correlated all the data. We brought in all the cause, effect, symptom, and the remediation action happen towards an incident at a single place. And this gave us a 360-degree view of the infrastructure so that any user who is working related to the platform on any area, be it the escalation team, be it the incident management team, be it the SRE, be it the XX, they could come right into the single page. They could easily know what's happening, what are the monitoring signals, the health alarms, the incidents, and the automation actions taken towards solving the incidents. And finally, we also automated the documentation tasks so that whatever actions were performed by the automation system, got documented back into the ticketing system so that the postmortems or RCAs are easier. They could just go there and read out what exactly happened and what were the measures taken to solve that. And finally, we pushed in all our data, all the data coming from all the different sources into our data warehouse so that we could build the trend analysis, the reporting, and we could also use the same for future, some machine learning models and to remediation recommendation. That was our future goal. So some of the systems were in use where we used wavefront-based metrics and monitoring and log intelligence systems, which are already VMware tools for logging and metrics-based alerting. Again, wavefront is also one of the data engineering tools which we can use for any reporting and graphs. So this brought in all the correlation. We have the cause, symptom, and action at the same place. We reduced all the unrelated noise, and we showed only the relevant information that is important at the right time. And the UI was intuitive. We just showed the real time and the responsive UI. We just showed what alerts were happening at the right time and the right place. And we also showed the ongoing automation task and its progress so immediately that the user need not hop into multiple systems to know what exactly is happening on the system. It was just one page for the user to go to understand what's exactly happening, why it happened, and how is it being solved. And we also have the integration with the business intelligence tool and the ticketing service, as I mentioned, to ease the post-incident remediation steps as well. As a result, we got a lot of user onboarding to our system just because of the single-page UI we built, because it was not only the SRE which wanted to use the system, but it was also the people from other teams under the same VMC umbrella or the VMware Managed Cloud umbrella who wanted to know what's exactly happening on the customer infrastructure. We made the onboarding easier by bringing the access control messages at the right place, because for any new user, getting the right access easily is a challenge, still a challenge. So we made that onboarding process easier by providing the right links to the right access control systems. We made the easier correlation by linking all the data coming from multiple systems in a single place. And we also made the SRE to have the minimal context switch. With the integration with the data warehouse and the business intelligence systems, we were able to do a data-driven decisions, as well as we could also do a trend analysis to understand what were the most impacting incidents that were happening across the customers. Because we, being a hybrid cloud provider and each of our customer infrastructure being different, we need to understand the trend to make our automation systems better. And we could immediately see a jump in the improvement of MTTR, close to 20%. And this was the initial release itself. We didn't even had to do the next cycles of release to get that. So we have all this, but still something is missing there, because we, being SRE, we are kind of in the middle place between the customer incidents and the support team and also all the other service owners. So collaboration is the main part which we as an SRE play. How to collaborate better. That was our next challenge in front of us. And for that, we built a virtual war room. So we, being VMware, we virtualize a war room as well, where we usually get together into a single meeting room, and the stakeholders from multiple teams gather around there, try to solve the incident. And do that. So we brought in using Slack and all the systems so that we could collaborate better. And the communication was a central piece in that whole virtual war room. And all the health signals which were coming in from the health systems, plus the monitoring signals and the remediation actions being performed, and the people from multiple geos across the teams, all the communication, everything was centralized and surrounded by that, so that every person who wanted to know what's happening on a P0 or a P1 could just come here on one single page to see what's happening and record everything. And if they want to document anything further or add any more information, they could just do it right there, so that everyone else who is monitoring that incident can view it right away. And again, we have all the other links to the data warehouse systems and everything in place as well. So this reduced the incident remediation time a lot, because now instead of struggling to find out information and spending more time on finding the right information, we were now spending the time on solving the incident because information was at hands. So as a result, we could see a happy SRE, not the grumpy SRE which we had in the beginning. So the effective collaboration with the use of chat ops and everything was into place. We have one integrated platform to not only have the remediation in place, but also have all other information of the infrastructure, like the alert, the health signals, and the remediation recommendations using ML, and all other chat ops as well. Oh, sorry. Yeah. We have less operational toil due to all this, because the number of hopes an SRE had to take to solve the incident was less, so that the SRE can focus more time to develop some cool features or tools to bring in more automation. We have a central place for incident remediation, and we had the agility, consistency, and control at scale, because any action that is taken on a customer environment should be controlled and should be consistent. So we were able to achieve this using this virtualized war room. This is where we are now. So I will leave it right here. So, so far in our journey in building a self-resilient automated platform, we have learned a lot of things, and we would like to share whatever we learned so far, because tomorrow, if we are to build an SRE team altogether again from scratch, or if we want to pass on the knowledge to someone else, these are the learnings which we had. Again, these exactly won't fit into every other organization, because we have to understand the users, understand the platform, understand the organization and the instance that's happening over there. We should build the right platform for the organization, but I think more or less fits same. I'm just not going to read out there. It's self-explanatory. Yeah, with that, yeah, this is our journey so far.
So we're going to open it up to questions, but I'd like to just add that coming from an SRE background myself, I have always steered away from UIs. Give me a command line any day, and that was what I focused on. And what I found with this new challenge is I actually had to go the opposite direction. We actually needed a UI and a platform where everything came together in one spot, and actually in order to solve the problems, so that it could show us the data in the right place. And this is an ever-growing journey. I mean, we have quite an extensive 2-year roadmap on new features and automating more and more of this as we go forward. So any questions?
How long did you take this journey, right? How much time did you take to implement this, right? How long? I hear you said you had a 2 years roadmap. So the other question which I also had for you, I heard Jayan saying that SREs are more intermediaries between developers and support teams. So is that how you are organized? SRE sits outside the support organization?
So at VMware, for infrastructure as a service and hybrid cloud offerings, what we call the support organization that's customer service. So at VMware, for our products, customers can escalate to a customer support organization different issues, and maybe they want to know how a feature works, et cetera. So it's a very broad support charter, if you will. And SRE sits behind that. So support organization uses our tools. So one of the things that they would do is customer calls in and says, I'm seeing a problem, I'm not able to do this. they check our dashboard now and go, oh, infrastructure is totally healthy. There's nothing wrong. So it must be configuration or some other thing. So that it actually cuts down their MTTR so that they can help that initial customer call. And then we also, yes, we have the service owners on our left, if you will, and the service owners, the developers of the product, they're on call as well, like they should be, and involved in owning the health of that service. And so we provide that gap between the customer support, the service owners, and the SRE team. So we, in our organization, we have to bridge all three. And we are the enabling software infrastructure for all three of those organizations. This journey took just a little over a year. Because we had to move very quickly. Our service was scaling faster than we were able to keep up with it as far as our MTTR. And so the important message here is they attempted to try this the first time, that beta, and it wasn't giving us what we needed. And so we had to quickly iterate, change, get the feedback, and push it out where we are today. And that was one of the messages we want to give people is don't try to make it perfect, especially if it's an internal tool. You know, it's okay if one element's not loading or broken, you know, don't spend 2 weeks trying to get that fixed before you roll out the changes you need. Get it out there, get that feedback from everyone who's on call, the service owner support, whoever's using your tool, and then iterate quickly. So, you know, we do a Scrum cycle, and we're pushing out now changes to this platform every week to 2 weeks, and just constantly updating it.
Yeah, thanks for the great session. So I had two questions to start off. So the first one that I looked at was you said right data at the right place. How did you do that? That could scale. There are a lot of offerings. You work with a lot of customers, and it keeps changing. So how did you scale it to show the right data? It must have taken some kind of a workflow or something. The second question, I saw something about the RCA. It's a great tool where you could come in, take a look at all the stuff that you want at one place, but to point out and zero in on what causes it is again a challenge. So how are you able to do that?
So trying to separate out the questions. So for the right data at the right time, it's an ongoing process, right? Just like any SRE organization, you see signals and you go, now that I've postmortem this, yeah, these signals failed and it was caused by this over here. Now I know that, so now I'm going to add that to my logic that exists. So it's a constant feedback iteration, right? So it's constantly growing. So it's not perfect when we first do it. You start with the product knowledge. So for VMware, we have a product on AWS that has been on-prem for 10 years. So first thing we do is we leverage that 10 years of knowledge of that product running and that software running on-prem and knowing what signals, your base SLA, and getting those signals into the platform. And today we're still working on SLOs, right? We want to proactively manage those SLAs and proactively manage the customer experience, which is well beyond most typical SLAs that companies offer. So it's just it's a cycle. Now the right signal at the right time is using Wavefront, you can do anomaly detection. So if you have a set of key SLIs, when they go breach their SLO, just show me that. No, I don't need to see, because you can have 50 or 25 signals. Maybe you have 10 SLIs, and then you have 50 support measures. I can go to Wavefront if I need to for that, but in our dashboard for SRE, I just need the core, and I only want to know what's failing. I don't want to know what's healthy at that time. You know, if you're doing triage, you may want to dig in. And I'm sorry, the other question.
The RCA.
Oh, RCA. So that's an ongoing challenge for every SRE organization, not perfect. For us, it was about recording everything that you do. So anything that you do on the service, we look at, okay, now let's add that to our platform and let's automate it. Let's make it push button. If you have to log in and do something, probably should make it consistent, make the platform, be able to run that from that dashboard, because once you log in, that's another few minutes of MTTR. And so by logging all the actions that an SRE is taking, and then knowing which ones remediated it, you actually can detect root cause faster. And then when we talk about maturing those signals of what you display, you start getting to that root cause faster. So we're not there yet. In some cases, yes, some key SLA measures, yeah, you know what the root cause is, because if this fails and these other signals are also showing that, you know what the root cause. But as far as like code bug root cause, no, not there yet. Any other questions? No? Thank you for the opportunity.